You want to catch me with the greed in your words, on keeping me captive, put locks on the doors. Did your best to scare me off, try to put to rest my voice, try to make me think I don't have much of a choice. Pushing me when I was down, playing low tricks from behind, looking for new ways to take control of my mind.
We're recording. That's so funny. Over, you know, like, yeah. You ever heard those things? Oh, what is it? That's really funny. All right. Can I drink water throughout? Is it not? It's fine.
Water, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 29 of the vlog. All right, I am back here at the Theo and Harris headquarters in Garwood, New Jersey. We were doing the math earlier, almost 2 years since I've been back, and we couldn't count. It feels like it's been 6 months.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was 6 months or 4
years.
years.
Yes, time has flown, but I am so excited to be back with my friends, my partners in many ways, and just people that I really have fun with. Yeah. So Christian and Anna from Theo and Harris, welcome back to the vlog.
Thanks.
For those who maybe don't know who Theo and Harris is, or like haven't seen the previous episode, tell us a little bit about what you do, a little bit about Theo and Harris, and maybe what's been new and emerging in the last 12 months of your business.
So Theo and Harris is an online community and retail store for vintage and pre-owned watches, Rolex, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, things like that. I started the company in college. Anna was right behind me, right there. The whole, not even 3 years behind me, and it's been almost 5 years now. So we've built this from the ground, literally nothing, $10,000, into a pretty influential player in our space. And the last time we spoke, my company was maybe 2 years old, but still, we're still infant, but really infant. Mm-hmm. And you basically had just started, and we were at very different points of life. So it was just like, all right, I guess we're both doing this thing. Yes. Where we take a very unconventional way to our lives, and now it's some time later.
Yeah, and what's so funny is you mentioned, last time we got together, we were both at kind of very fluid points in our business, and so even the connection, which was actually through your father, who I was working with at the time, just before I left and started Thoughtium, the connection also needed a little bit of we had to figure it out. What does this mean? And we talked a little bit about that the last time that we shot content. It's so interesting that, fast forward 2 years later, and this connection that we have makes so much more sense. To the point where, I flew in this morning at 10 o'clock. Yeah. I showed up at whatever coffee shop you told me to, 20 minutes from Newark Airport. And, immediately we just kind of went to work. Yeah. And, you were doing your thing. I was on client calls. Anna was editing video. And for me to be just around other entrepreneurs and creators and like-minded thinkers is super important, but to also have the confidence to just kind of co-create and collaborate, whether it's just a normal Monday morning or Monday afternoon, it just feels so good. Yeah. Christian left for an appointment. I had 30 minutes with Anna, and we immediately started geeking out about content creation. Now that's one of the things that really drew me to what you all are building, is that it's really founded on this incredible brand in Theo and Harris that is essentially being distributed via social media content. Mm-hmm. Although I know that that's evolved in terms of your business model. But thinking about social media content, because it's really something that we're just starting to scratch the surface with in terms of how we position our essentially consulting business to modern social media platforms, and maybe speak to what's been new for you all, or what are you dabbling in or thinking about over the course of the last 12 to 18 months in social media that maybe didn't exist or wasn't at the forefront of your mind 2 years ago?
Yeah, well, I think we're definitely, we've released something over 750 videos, and we're learning what people want to see, which is always changing, but it's from small things to the time of a video, how a video duration, to the types of content that we can uniquely produce in a meaningful way. Because now, 3 years ago, when we met, or 2 years ago, there were there were much fewer people who were creating content like we are, and fewer players in the watch space. And now there are a lot, which is a great thing, because it's community building, but it also is, okay, now where specifically can we find even more, directly, what is our niche? What can we really provide And, with our resources and with our connections and the great clients and collectors that we have in, our location and that we have access to, what can we produce that's really special and really meaningful and we can tell the story of?
Do you feel like there's this, and I'm just looking at the last 3 years, do you feel like there's this kind of teeter-totter of quality and volume of content? Where, I feel like 2 years ago when we met, it was all about volume, right? And we were all maybe subscribed to the Gary Vee model, which is just volume, frequency, film content, chop it up, distribute it on all channels. And I feel like, and maybe it's YouTube's algorithm that's changed or Instagram's algorithm. I wouldn't say it's one particular platform, but in general, have we swung a little bit more towards quality? Because I hear even you all talking about increasing the kind of production quality and the level and the creativity versus we're just posting at scale, or is it still both?
No, definitely.
Yeah, that's absolutely
100%. It also, even putting aside function, it's much more functional when you can compete on a level other people can't. Any one of our competitors can get in front of a camera in a studio, whatever, or their bedroom, and give an opinion on Omega, right? Or the new releases from Rolex. It's very easy to do. As long as you have a little bit of courage and a YouTube account, you can do it. So when that space got flooded, we said, okay, what are our abilities, right? Anna is really good with a camera. Anna's really good with kind of planning a 5-minute story, right? And it's an abridged version of a full history, but what do we need to check off, right? I have a little bit more of the watch expertise, so I can bring that. We create videos that no one our size or even within quite margin can create. Of course, the big players in our space, they can do that. They do that. Not regularly, not nearly as regularly as we do, but they can and do. But it's actually tapping in to our, abilities in even not in a watch way, but our just abilities to storytell that has actually separated the company. Of course, in the beginning it was frequency, it was other things, but now we used to do 6 videos a week.
And we recorded a lot of them in the back of your car.
We were at 6 videos a week in the back of my Jetta, right? And now we'll do sometimes 2 videos a week. The hardest part, and we can move on from content like strategy or what we can stay on where we want, but the hardest part that you and I struggle with now is we don't look at content week by week. We look at it over the course of a month. Over the course of a month, how do we balance the functions of our channel? Right? How much of our channel needs to be, in Gary Vee, right hook retail, as in go to the shop and buy this watch and here's why you need to. How much of our channel needs to be behind the scenes, a personal look at Christian, Anna, Rolly, my dad, who's also involved in the channel. How much of our content, 1, needs to be, and 2, even functionally can be super high production videos. How many can we even churn out? Is it 2 a month? Is it 3 a month? Where those kinds of videos Anna can easily spend 20, 30 hours on. That's half of some people's work week. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So and on those weeks there's not less work. She just has to add it. So that's what we're really struggling with, but I think we're doing pretty well on that front. But it is hard.
Well, and I think it's interesting to think about what dictates those decisions. Obviously the market gives you feedback in terms of volume versus creativity and how and when you should be posting. But I like to think that because Thoughtium right now does not have a massive audience and it's not necessarily a direct kind of sales channel for us. It's more a creative outlet for us to tell the story, to document the process, and to provide a little perspective. We have the luxury of not having to make concessions based on the market. So for me, it's all about I hold at the highest level our ability to tell a story. I haven't even begun to even swing a right hook. Right. Because I don't have to. Right. We sell otherwise, right? And so I call. That's a luxury for us. And I'm wondering if there's just certain pillars that you will not give on, even if the market is telling you you've got to completely go in a different direction.
I don't think there's anything that we do that people. There's nothing that we do for profit that people don't like. Do you know what I mean? We don't have to
That's a good point.
Which is great. There are certain patterns that we'll get into that some audience members don't like. That's fine. That happens. That's just improper feeling. For example, watch reviews. right? Not every video we do is a direct watch review, but many of them are. So when we started to introduce regular watch reviews to our channel, the watches that we picked were not, I wouldn't say wrong. Wrong's a hard word, but it was off, right? We didn't anticipate any negative feedback, and the feedback, not much of the feedback, but a portion, 20% of the feedback was, hey, like, could you do some more affordable watches? And we just forgot. Like, it didn't even, I was like, oh, let me pick out the best. I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, let me just put everything in my mouth. When it's the truth. But we should have said, okay, what does everyone else want to see? Not just what do I want to play with right now.
Absolutely.
And some kids like sour candy. I don't. I'm a big chocolate guy. You know what I mean? So like that was just a misreading. But I think that was a really good analogy. So
how long can we stretch this analogy? Continue to do it. Well, I feel like a kid in a candy store being with you guys here talking social media, but I almost want to like completely pivot in a different direction because a large part of like our connection has to do with the way that we interact, and I think it's really, really special. You and I earlier were talking about kind of the role that mentorship has played in our lives, and we were even almost challenging whether our relationship was a formal kind of mentor-mentee relationship, or are we more just kind of like colleagues or friends. And the truth is it's a little bit of all of that, right? And this trip for me actually has a lot of meaning because I'm visiting a formal mentor of mine and spending some time with him kind of unpacking this topic. And I'm just curious, and I want to have you guys maybe add your perspective on like, what does mentorship mean to you? And I don't mean like business mentorship. I mean just like kind of like, and God, mentorship's such a stale word, right? Like I'm talking like, where do you get your guidance from? Where do you get your inspiration from? What are some of those things that you look for in terms of like the people in your life, your squad, the people that are like really influencing the decisions you're making? Maybe Anna will start with you.
I'm like incredibly blessed to have a lot of people in my family who have done their own thing. My mother is an artist and she's always worked for herself. My brother's a musician, always worked for himself. I have an aunt and uncle who have their own company and who did this themselves. So it's incredible that I have the resources that I do, and I consider myself very lucky to be really close with all of them and be able to talk openly about it. So it's kind of always been in my life, and creative arts have always been in my life as well. Yeah. So that is really where I find the greatest sources of inspiration, and like I'm kind of losing my direction. How do I find it again? So, and even on business levels, although I'm more looking for creative input and creative like direction, there are some like business questions that I have, and I can always just really go to family. So I'm really lucky to have that. And Christian, of course, is my best friend. 5 years of doing business with him.
Yeah, you can hardly call that a mentorship. Yeah. That's more of a friendship. Yeah, absolutely. Christian, how about you?
It's different for me. I don't really have mentors in my family. I have people that I look up to, but no, my family is I'm very different than my family. Yeah. So I mean, I'm very similar in some ways, but from a business perspective, I'm totally different. The idea of the things that what I want to build, no one in my family's ever wanted to. Not that they couldn't, they just weren't interested in doing it. And some of the people in my family were far more successful than maybe I will be. But just they didn't the same interest in growing a brand or building a business around not just retail, but around community and becoming maybe a thought leader in that community. There's no one wanted to do that. So I don't have those relationships. But through business, I have made a couple of relationships and I say a couple, I mean 3 or maybe 4 would be even too generous. That I have always said, many of these relationships started with buying a watch, and I started with, okay, this is a profitable relationship, so I'll have dinner with you because it's profitable for me to do so. But those relationships have gone far beyond that, and I frankly, I laugh about it. Like I could like. Let's say, a relationship with one of these clients, let's say they're really into like going out to dinner or whatever it is. And let's say every year it costs me $500 or whatever, or $1,000 a year to have a relationship with this person. how much cheaper is that than a college credit? You
Right.
know,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
have learned so much more with these men over dinner and over drinks. How does it happen? I think it happens when usually people who are more experienced than you see that while you may not have a big boy thing yet, you're probably building
That's
a big
so
boy thing,
interesting, yes.
and they treat
And even
you,
those who haven't built something similarly can
Yes.
kind of see it.
and they treat you in a way that you haven't been before. You just are. They're not like, oh, this is my kid brother or this is my little cousin. It's okay, like what are you doing and do I care? And if I don't care, then that's fine, and then they just move on.
Yeah.
But some guys look, and sometimes even for business. I mean, I have a friend that I know is a friend of mine, but from a business point of view, he knows that same, let's say it's $1,000 a year. If I ever am raising money for TNH, he'll be there and he'll make a ton of money on it, and he knows that this relationship, even if it's not friendship, which it is, will be business profitable.
Yep.
So they want to surround themselves in an environment of people that is like-minded, that is going to be profitable, things like that. Mentorship is very important to me. I have many of them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I almost want to pull a thread through both of your responses. I've been thinking a lot about the concept of mentorship. For me, one of the kind of the key components to a mentorship is the ability for someone to either allow you to connect your past or see your future. Right, so Christian, you talk about those people in your life who are able to see your success, maybe even in a way that you can't
Not
even
capable
see,
of, right?
And allow that frame for you or that lens for you to see your future a lot clearer.
Yep.
And Anna, you talk about people in your family that have been doing things for quite some time and maybe inspire you based on what they've done in the past. And for me, great mentorship is both of those things. It's an homage to the past, like what's worked in the past,
right?
And it's almost an honoring of that, whether that be through a family member or whether that be through like a business colleague. But it's also people who enable you to see your future more clearly,
right?
And that's why even the term mentorship is just so like mechanical for me. There is no like formal relationship or like weekly cadence you can get with somebody that where these types of things are realized. The ability to see your future, the ability to connect your past. And it's interesting because I'm also thinking about, one of the things that I'm doing on this trip is I'm going to be purchasing a watch for the first time.
Yeah.
And I could not be more excited about this. And if you asked me 2 years ago whether I would be even in the market for a vintage watch that was not, something that was handed down from my family, I would say absolutely not. But I think the relationship that we've had and how it's matured over the years has allowed me to really connect even some of the stories of my past, particularly with my grandfather who was into watches. And I got to learn a little bit more about that and what that meant for him.
For sure.
And at the same time, every time I come out here and I sit down with you guys, like I'm able to see a little bit of the future a little bit more clearly. Whether that's like you guys kind of pushing the paradigm in certain ways and me taking notes, or just some of the discussions you and I have about what it's like to build our respective businesses. So before we close, I got one final question for both of you, which we didn't prep for. So good luck with the answers. I want to know what each of you respectively are totally geeking out about today. And it could be something totally random and insignificant, like a show you're watching or something you ate or what are you just totally geeking out about?
We both have two shows that we're currently geeking out about, but I'm still, I'm geeking out about Fleabag.
Yeah.
Currently.
that is a show?
It's really good.
No, it's season 2 of Fleabag. I love it because I'm always trying to look for new ways of showcasing something I've seen 100 million times, which is watches, right? And the way that it's totally different, but the way that Phoebe Waller-Bridge has managed to communicate a story that has been told before and use the medium, not in the biggest budget way, not like tons of CGI, but in just take something very familiar and just kind of flip it on its head.
Yeah.
And that's that itself is inspiration to me to continue producing inventive and new content.
Incredible. That's incredible. What channel is it
It is on Amazon Prime.
Okay, awesome. Not sponsored by Amazon
Not
Prime,
sponsored,
clearly.
but should be.
Christian, what about you?
Oh, well, just now when I went outside, it reminded me of like the last time I went on like I go on regular walks during the fall for some
Yeah.
reason, and I haven't gone on one yet. We usually do it together, and going outside just now reminded me of that. And I don't do things like that often. You do, like you go out of your way to like fly from Chicago to New Jersey and hit up 2 people and like grow as a person.
Yeah.
I just don't put a lot of conscious effort into that, and I think that one, that's wrong, and 2, those like little peaceful like walks, they could be an hour only.
Yeah.
It's one of the few things that I do, apart from spending time with my family, that like kind of grounds you, and you're away from the computer, you're
Yes.
not chugging coffee, so you're
Yes.
not hyped up, you're just like enjoying kind of where you are, and even if just for an hour, you know, and kind of just get to think.
Yeah.
And then you come back to reality, and then you
Yes.
can crunch. But I only want to fucking walk like right now.
That's awesome. Well, it's interesting because if I had to answer that question, it'd be very similar. It's fascinating to me how much, let's call it, intention is starting to make its way into every generation, particularly ours. And I'm going to group myself in this generation here. But I am really geeking out right now about meditation, particularly.
Oh, wow.
And even in small doses, even if it truly is just a walk, a lot of people think that meditation is like, it's a very kind of like forceful thing. You have to sit down and focus on one thing. But even if it's just taking your mind and taking a walk and just acknowledging the thoughts that are coming through, that practice, if you work on it, can really lead to some incredible stuff.
Yeah.
For example, like my preparation to come out here was totally different than maybe how I would have a couple years ago. And it's allowed me to start to really make connections between, our interaction today and my interaction tomorrow with Chuck, my mentor, and it just makes life a little bit more meaningful. So I won't give any recommendations on how to start, because I'm not a guru in meditation, but I'm geeking out about it.
Yeah, give it a shot, kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. Or just take a walk.
Yeah, take a walk.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. It was
I'm looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah, absolutely. So from here, we're going to go out to dinner. We're going to take a look at some watches, and we're going to definitely tell some stories.
Yeah, I think so.
And we're going to continue this incredible relationship. And Christian, Anna, thank you so much for joining. We look forward to bringing you incredible people like Christian and Anna, the story, the journey, on an episode by episode basis. Thank you all for joining. Have a great week.
That's awesome.